She smiled too much during dinner. Not at me, at her phone. 3 times her screen lit up. 3 times she tapped it face down like it was a reflex. I watched her do it the first time without saying anything. The second time, I laughed a little too loudly at a joke she didn't make. By the third, I was chewing roasted chicken like it had bones. I didn't ask who it was. I already knew I wouldn't like the answer. "Can we not do this right now?" she muttered. We weren't doing anything. That was the problem. I cleared the plates. She poured another glass of wine. I stared at the dirty dishwater while she scrolled through Instagram stories with the brightness turned way down. Then she stood up and said it, like she was asking me to pass the salt. "I'm going out. It's just dinner." She didn't even wait for me to answer. The click of her heels down the hall sounded like a countdown I didn't remember starting. Her perfume hung in the air like a question I didn't want answered. I opened the fridge, looked at nothing, closed it again. I sat back down at the table where only one chair was still warm. By the time the front door slammed shut, I'd already made a decision. I grabbed a trash bag. I didn't shout or cry. I didn't smash things. I started quietly, like a janitor on the night shift. Her vanity drawer emptied. Her gym tote stuffed. Her favorite mug that said, "Maybe later," wrapped in a hoodie and placed gently at the top. Her books. Her backup charger. Her silk sleep mask. All of it. I knew exactly what went in each bag because I was the one who used to fold her laundry. When I finished, I lined them up next to the front door like luggage at an airport. I turned off all the lights except one, the hallway lamp, just enough to make the message clear. I sat in the dark for hours with my phone face up, just watching the seconds tick by. No TV, no music, just the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak in the ceiling. At 11:48 p.m., her headlights hit the living room wall. At 11:49, I heard the key. The door opened. She stepped inside laughing, still mid-sentence from whatever call she was on. Then silence. She saw the bags. Her face fell. She looked around like maybe it was a prank. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. I stood up slowly and said the words I had practiced 37 times that night. "It's just divorce." And the best part? She hadn't even taken off her coat. She stared at me like I'd spoken a language she didn't understand. Her hand still on the doorknob, keys dangling between her fingers, one heel still caught mid-step over the welcome mat. The words echoed back at her in the hallway. "It's just divorce." At first, she smiled. Not out of happiness, but disbelief. That smug little tilt of her lips that always came before she dismissed something as dramatic. "Ellis," she said, her voice soft, cautious, like I was holding a gun and she thought maybe she could talk me down. "What are you talking about?" She looked at the bags. She looked at me. Then back again, slower this time. The smile faded. "Is this a joke?" she asked. I said nothing. I just stepped to the side and motioned toward the bags like a concierge checking someone out of a hotel they overstayed. She scoffed, walked right past them into the kitchen like she hadn't just come home late, again, in a dress I'd never seen, with lipstick I didn't buy. Like this was still her house. Like I was the one who needed to explain myself. "Oh my God," she muttered, pouring herself water. "You're serious? Over dinner?" I followed her in, quiet, watching the way her hand trembled ever so slightly when she brought the glass to her lips. That was new. Mara didn't shake. Mara made people shake. She was the storm, not the flag caught in it. "You've been out 4 nights this week," I said. 3 the week before. Always dinner. Always with someone I never get to meet. Always after you change clothes and put on perfume and delete your texts. She slammed the glass on the counter, water sloshing over the rim. "I told you, I've been networking. Real estate doesn't sell itself." "And who's Ian?" I asked. She froze. Not completely. Just enough that her next breath came late. Her hands moved again a second later, defensive. "He's a client. A client who texts you at midnight?" "Jesus, you went through my phone." "No," I said. "But you're not as subtle as you think." The words hung there, like smoke in a room where the fire hadn't started yet. She sighed, hard, like I was exhausting her, like I was inconveniencing her with my heartbreak. "You're being paranoid," she said, brushing past me again. She walked toward the bags and kicked one aside, not with force, but with irritation, like it was in her way. "You want to talk? Fine, let's talk. But I'm not going anywhere. You don't get to just decide this on your own." I followed slowly, step by step, not because I wanted a confrontation, but because I wanted her to see how far she'd pushed me. I let so many things slide, Mara, I said. You came home late. I said nothing. You stopped holding my hand in public. I said nothing. You smiled at your phone more than you smiled at me. I said nothing. And now you're making a scene over what? She shouted, spinning around. Dinner. You're acting like I cheated on you. The silence that followed was volcanic. Heavy. I didn't have to say it. The look in my eyes did. And she felt it. I saw it hit her, like a slap she didn't expect. Her lips parted. Her shoulders dropped. Her defenses lowered for half a breath. And that's when she knew. I knew. And worse. I'd known for a while. She backed up, eyes darting to the door. Ellis, wait, it's not what you think. I stepped forward, slow and calm. I know exactly what it is. She opened her mouth again, but I walked right past her, into the bedroom. I pulled out the folder from the nightstand drawer. Inside, bank statements. Timestamps. A copy of an Uber receipt to a hotel 30 minutes from where she claimed she'd been. A screenshot from her shared calendar that accidentally synced to our joint Google Home account. Her dinner meeting didn't show up, but a spa appointment 2 hours before it did. I dropped it all on the coffee table. She didn't even touch it. She just stared. You were never supposed to look, she whispered, almost to herself. I stopped looking for your truth a long time ago, I said. Now I keep records. And then, her mask cracked. She didn't cry. That was the part that stunned me. I expected tears, expected shouting, maybe some variation of the usual, it wasn't serious, or, I only did it because you stopped trying. But Mara just stood there like a mime frozen mid-act, her eyes pinned to the open folder on the table, her pulse visible in her throat. Then she did something worse than crying. She smiled. Not a full one. Not warm. Not even smug. Just a crooked little twitch of the lips that reminded me of the way she used to smile when she got away with something as a kid. I'd seen that smile once before, when she told me she backed into a pole but convinced the insurance agent it was the other driver's fault. She was proud of herself. Ellis, she said softly, too softly. You really sat here and collected all this? I didn't answer. I wanted her to sit in it, to feel the weight of it without interruption. You went through my emails, she added, her voice edged with disbelief. You checked my Uber receipts? Like, you actually took screenshots of my calendar? You gave me no choice, I said. You left me breadcrumbs, Mara. I just followed them. She shook her head slowly, then picked up the bank statement at the top. Her red nail traced down the charges. Seabrook Hotel, Chez Lanier Bistro, Levin Spa. None of them were in our budget, and none of them matched the dates she said she was working late. She sighed. This looks insane, she muttered. I took a step forward. What looks insane is hiding hotel charges under fake business accounts. What looks insane is texting Ian about how you wish you could stay the night without suspicion. What looks insane is pretending to be a wife while moonlighting as someone else's fantasy. That one landed. Her jaw twitched. She blinked twice, fast. Then she dropped the paper and sat on the arm of the couch. Crossing her legs like this was suddenly a negotiation. Okay, she said. One word. Flat. Fine. I messed up. Messed up. I nearly laughed. You don't get to call this a mess up. A mess up is forgetting to text me back. A mess up is burning dinner. This is betrayal. Now she rolled her eyes. That stung more than I expected. I'm not going to stand here and let you turn this into a Shakespearean tragedy, she said. You're not a victim, Ellis. You checked out a long time ago. You think I didn't notice? The way you stopped touching me? The way your eyes glazed over when I talked about anything that wasn't your job or your little podcast obsession? I blinked. So this is my fault. It's our fault, she snapped. I didn't cheat on you to hurt you. I did it because I was tired of feeling invisible. I could feel my fingers curling into fists, not from rage, but from shame. Maybe part of me had checked out. Maybe I let the silence between us stretch too long, like an elastic band that eventually snapped. But none of that excused what she did. It didn't excuse the lies, the hiding, the gaslighting. I walked past her, into the bedroom, pulled out the manila envelope I had been hiding in the back of my sock drawer. Inside, a draft divorce agreement. I hadn't filed it. I wasn't even sure I could go through with it. But I needed it, like a fire escape on a building I was afraid might burn. I dropped it next to her on the coffee table. I want you out by the weekend, I said. You can keep the furniture. Take whatever you want. But I'm done. She didn't even flinch. Just looked at the envelope like it was a receipt from the grocery store. You don't want to talk to a mediator? She asked. I stared at her. She actually meant it. She was calm. Like this was just another transaction. Another closing deal. I already did, I said. 3 weeks ago. That cracked her. Her lip quivered. Not a lot, but enough to notice. She looked up at me for the first time with uncertainty. Not guilt, not defiance, fear. You planned this, she whispered. Every step, I said. Because I knew the second you said, it's just dinner, that you were daring me to call your bluff. She stood, her hands balled into fists. Her face hardened. You think you're strong for doing this behind my back? Huh, she hissed. You want to be the man now? You're not. You're still the guy who cried when your car got towed. I smiled a little, because that was the moment I knew she'd lost the upper hand. Yeah, I said, but at least I never lied about where it was parked. She went silent, and then she said the words that would change everything. She didn't shout. She didn't throw anything. She didn't break down like I had quietly hoped. I don't know why I wanted that. Maybe because part of me needed proof that she still felt something, that somewhere under all that cold, calculated deflection, the woman I married still existed. But no, she stood there like a statue in heels, breathing through her nose, jaw clenched so tightly I swore I heard her molars grind. Then she muttered, "You don't know anything." I scoffed. "I know more than you think." She shook her head. "No, Ellis. You think you know. You think printing out a few hotel receipts and copying some texts makes you Sherlock Holmes. But you never even asked the right question." I blinked. "Which is, who Ian actually is." I stared at her. "He's the guy you've been sneaking around with. The guy who calls you after midnight. The guy who—" "No," she interrupted, her voice rising slightly. "He's not that. And you never once stopped to ask me. You just built your entire meltdown on assumptions. Like always." My chest tightened. Not out of fear. Out of fury. That was my line. She was the one who never answered questions. She was the one who started hiding things. Now she wanted to flip this? Paint herself as the misunderstood villain? "Don't gaslight me." I snapped. "I saw the texts, Mara. I saw how you talked to him." "You saw parts, Ellis," she said, grabbing her phone and unlocking it so fast I didn't even have time to react. She opened the messaging app and scrolled. Her fingers moved with surgical precision. She tapped one thread, one I hadn't seen. Then she turned the screen toward me. The name at the top wasn't Ian. It was Isabel Annette Newman. My stomach dropped. I-A-N. She didn't say Ian. She said I-A-N. She had always said it like an acronym, like I was supposed to know what it meant. And now I did. What is this?" I asked, blinking like an idiot, as if my eyes needed time to refocus and prove I'd read it wrong. "It's not a man," she said, her tone more tired than triumphant. "It's my attorney, Isabel Annette Newman. Ian, you remember her. She handled my mom's estate." I staggered back a step like someone had shoved me in the chest. The room tilted slightly. The bags by the door suddenly looked like tombstones. "She's your—" I trailed off. "She's my lawyer." "Yes," Mara said. "Because I've been planning to leave you." There it was. Not a confession. A detonation. I should have felt victorious. I should have pointed at the bags and screamed, "I knew it. I beat you to it." But I didn't. Because I didn't beat her. I was behind. "You were going to divorce me?" I whispered. She nodded slowly, stepping toward the couch again. "Yes. I was trying to do it cleanly. Quietly. I was working with Ian to make sure we split everything fair. No drama. No public fights. I even told her I didn't want alimony. I just wanted out." My knees gave slightly and I sat. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. "You were just waiting?" I asked, while I repainted the hallway, while I tried to fix things, while I was blaming myself for every cold look and late night. "I was trying to protect you," she said, "because I knew if I told you directly, you'd explode. You'd spiral. And guess what? I was right." I couldn't breathe. All this time, I thought I was building a case, stacking evidence, outmaneuvering her. But she was 6 steps ahead. Her exit strategy was already drafted by a professional. Meanwhile, I was printing screenshots like a teenager trying to win a Twitter argument. "I didn't cheat on you, Ellis," she said softly. "I was done. I just didn't know how to say it." I shook my head slowly. "You lied. Every day? That's still betrayal." "Maybe," she said. "But the truth wouldn't have saved us either." We sat in silence for what felt like an entire season of our marriage. Then I asked something I never imagined myself asking. "So what now?" Mara looked at the envelope on the table, the divorce draft I had prepared. and then at the phone in her hand. She exhaled like she was letting go of 20 years of weight. "We see whose version we sign," she said. "Yours or mine?" I didn't sleep that night. She went to the guest room. Her choice. I heard her close the door softly around 2:17 a.m. I lay in our bed alone, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a bird in flight. I remember when I used to joke that it was a swan. She'd laugh and say, "It's a vulture, babe." Maybe it was always a vulture. I just didn't want to see it. By morning, my hands were shaking too much to make coffee. I sat at the kitchen table gripping the edge, heart pounding like a ticking clock in my chest. That envelope, the one I'd dropped on the table in part 3, was still sitting there like a dead thing. But now, her lawyer's name had a face. And it wasn't Ian. It was Ian, a woman, a professional, and apparently, my wife's lifeline out of our marriage. I stared at the envelope for an hour. Then I opened it. Inside was the draft I had created. Simple, clean, fair. No alimony. No accusations. Just division of property, joint ownership of the house until sold, and a 60-40 furniture split in her favor. I wanted to walk away with dignity. Even after all the gut punches, I wasn't trying to punish her. I just wanted out. But curiosity got the better of me. I knew she had her own version. I knew she had documents from her lawyer, probably sitting somewhere on her phone or in her bag. And I knew she was asleep. The door was cracked. She snored when she was on her back. I waited until I heard it. Light, rhythmic, pathetic. Then I moved. I opened her purse and pulled out the yellow envelope from Isabel Annette Newman. No lock. No password. Just trust, apparently. Still, somehow, I laid out the documents on the kitchen table side by side, mine and hers. And that's when the earth shifted under me. Her version didn't just look different. It was different. There were sections that didn't match mine. Entire paragraphs I hadn't written. A non-disparagement clause. A future asset disclaimer. But the one that hit me like a truck was under Section 8, page 3. Spousal support waiver is conditional on both parties maintaining silence regarding the subject of the August agreement. What the hell was the August agreement? I scanned the rest of the page. The words were clinical, deliberately vague. But one line stood out like it was glowing. Any public disclosure or private litigation referencing events prior to August 14th will result in immediate reactivation of financial compensation negotiations. I stood there in the silence of our kitchen, rereading that line over and over. That was 3 months ago, August 14th. I tried to remember what happened that week. That was the week she went to Denver for a real estate seminar. Except, we got a UPS slip during those days. For a missed delivery. Addressed to her. But the return label had said Palm Desert, California. I'd asked her about it. She brushed it off. Said it was a gift from a colleague. A swag bag from the conference. But that didn't add up. Palm Desert was not Denver. I checked our shared calendar again. Sure enough, August 13th to 16th, work trip, Denver, with a plane emoji. My legs went cold. What happened in Palm Desert? Why was there an entire paragraph in a divorce agreement threatening financial reactivation if I spoke about it? I went back to the table, grabbed my phone, and searched my photos. I remembered I took a screenshot of her flight tracker app that week because I was trying to pick her up on time. I found it. Her plane landed in San Diego, not Denver. And then, my chest cracked open. I remembered something even worse. The name Ian had come up before August. I remembered a call, a voicemail, from an unknown number with a woman's voice saying, "Hey Mara, we've finalized the agreement. Just make sure your husband never sees that card statement." That was weeks before Palm Desert. I hadn't thought about it since. Just one of those weird calls where you assume it's a scam or marketing. I never even asked her about it. But now, I looked back at her agreement. The language was airtight. I'd lose everything if I challenged her version and brought up August. Whatever happened that week, she had legally buried it, hidden it under legal padding and professional signatures. And I'd almost signed her version without even reading it. I stared at her documents like they were a puzzle soaked in poison. This wasn't just divorce. This was erasure. She wasn't just trying to leave. She was trying to rewrite the end of our story, lock it behind a non-disclosure clause, and walk away with a clean reputation. And if I signed it, I was complicit. I told myself I wasn't going to do it, that I could walk away, that I didn't need to know what happened in August. That was a lie. The moment Mara left the house that morning for a coffee with Kendra, which I was 97% sure was a lie, I sat down at the table with Isabel Annette Newman's card in front of me. Her name was printed in clean serif type, raised lettering on thick ivory cardstock. There was a number, an email, a logo that looked like a corporate maze. I stared at it for 10 minutes before I picked up the phone. 3 rings. Newman and Yates. A voice answered. I cleared my throat. Hi. Yes. I'm looking for Isabel Newman. Is this Ellis Harrow? I froze. Yes. One moment, please. That meant Mara had told them about me, had given them my name, maybe even warned them I might call. Click. This is Isabel, came a cool, practiced voice. Older, steady, sharp like a scalpel. Hi, Ms. Newman, I said. You don't know me, but I do know who you are, she said. You're the husband. And I need to stop you right there, Mr. Harrow. I can't discuss my client's case with you without written authorization. I'm not asking about the case. I lied. I'm asking about one line in the agreement. The part that references the August agreement. Silence. Dead, heavy silence. Then, that section is protected, Mr. Harrow. But it's in my version of the divorce papers, I said. If I'm supposed to sign it, I should understand what I'm agreeing to. Isabel didn't speak for a long time. When she finally did, her voice had shifted into something colder. If your wife included that clause in your draft, then I suggest you speak with her. That content was never intended for disclosure. You buried something, I said, barely containing my breath. What did she do? Another pause. Longer. Then she sighed. Mr. Harrow, let me say this carefully. There are certain past events your wife wished to protect, for your sake as well as hers. I will not confirm or deny anything further. But if you dig, you may learn things you can't unlearn. That last sentence felt like a warning, a threat, or maybe a plea. I wanted to scream at her, threaten to subpoena her firm. But the way she said it, flat, precise, no emotion, made me realize something terrifying. This wasn't just about cheating. This was legal containment, damage control. I hung up and stared at the wall for a long time. What had Mara done that was so serious her lawyer was trying to insulate both of us from it? This wasn't about infidelity anymore. This wasn't emotional. This was structural, controlled, sanitized. I needed answers. So I did something I swore I wouldn't. I broke into her laptop. I know how that sounds. But it wasn't locked, just in sleep mode. She left it open on the kitchen counter with her email still active. Part of me thinks she wanted me to see it. Like she was tired of hiding the wreckage. I didn't dig far. Just her inbox. Just the IN thread. And then I saw the file attachment. Exhibit C, Incident Management Proposal. PDF. My pulse stopped. I opened it. I wish I hadn't. Inside were 12 pages. Redacted names. Legal language. Internal documents, scanned and formatted. Dates. Statements. Witness codes. And Mara's name, listed in the reportee section of a harassment complaint filed against her. Filed by a male subordinate from her brokerage firm. It described a pattern of manipulation, inappropriate texts, and threats to bury him professionally if he didn't comply with informal agreements made in Palm Desert. August 14th. The date matched. The location matched. But the fallout had been completely erased from the company website, from her public record, from me. There was a non-disclosure settlement signed by the subordinate. A one-time payment. There were legal review notes. Isabel's name appeared multiple times in the email chain. The document wasn't meant for me. It wasn't meant for anyone. And suddenly, it made sense. Why Mara had acted so calm when I accused her of cheating. She was holding a deeper secret. One I was never meant to find. And now, I had it. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. She didn't betray me with another man. She betrayed her career, her ethics, herself. And she almost made me sign a document that would have protected her forever. I didn't speak to her that night. I didn't sleep either. I laid in bed with the covers pulled over me like a child hiding from the monster in the room. Except the monster wasn't in the closet. She was down the hall, snoring gently, probably dreaming of a version of herself where no one knew what she'd done. My thoughts looped like a broken recording. Every time I tried to calm myself, I saw her name on that document again. Mara E. Harrow, internal reportee. My wife, who smiled and said, "It's just dinner," while she quietly signed hush-money agreements and got her lawyer to mop up the mess behind her heels. I woke up at 6:03 a.m. Not because I wanted to, but because the rage in my chest wouldn't let me lie still anymore. I sat on the patio with my laptop open and an iced coffee I didn't drink. I stared at the PDF again. I highlighted her name. I copied it. I Googled every phrase I could think of: Mara Harrow, Palm Desert Brokerage, harassment settlement, misconduct complaint, incident report, real estate ethics board. Most of it came up empty. But then I remembered the golden rule. Nothing online ever disappears completely. I pulled up the Wayback Machine, plugged in the URL of her firm's old employee page. And there it was, a version from August 18th. Her name listed, just like it used to be, under Senior Relocation Strategists. But 2 weeks later, gone. Wiped. No explanation. There was no scandal headline. No Reddit thread. No exposed email chain. She had handled it quietly, efficiently, and it would have stayed that way if I hadn't opened that file. I closed the tab and sat back. My head ached. My chest felt like it had concrete in it. Then something shifted inside me. Something I didn't expect. Not anger. Not sadness. Strategy. If she wanted to play clean, I was done being dirty. If she wanted to protect her reputation, I'd protect the truth. I didn't care about punishing her. I didn't care about alimony or who got the couch or the house or even the damn dog bed for a dog we never got. I cared about freedom. And real freedom, I realized, comes from exposure. So I called my lawyer. Her name is Linda, mid-50s, thinks in bullet points and speaks in full paragraphs. I told her everything, every little detail. The document, the clause, the hidden settlement. She went silent for about 5 seconds, then said, "Do not confront Mara directly. If you have that file, she'll do everything in her power to discredit you before it sees daylight. Let me file a motion to review her agreement and challenge the confidentiality clause based on undisclosed material terms." In normal words, Mara screwed up. She had included a clause in our divorce draft that referenced the very thing she wanted to bury, proving it was material. Which meant legally, I could argue I had a right to know. It also meant I could blow the whole thing wide open, under the protection of discovery. But here's where things turned dark. That afternoon, Mara came home early. She didn't speak at first, just walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge like it was a normal day. But I felt the tension in the air. It was thick, static, like the moment before lightning strikes. Then she said, without turning around, "Did you go through my laptop?" My heart stopped. I didn't answer. She closed the fridge slowly, turned, leaned against the counter. "IAN called me," she said. "Told me you made contact. Asked about the clause." Still, I said nothing. She tilted her head. "You found it, didn't you?" I looked at her. Her expression wasn't angry. It was exhausted. Scared, maybe. Or worse, resigned. "I found what you tried to bury," I said quietly. "And I gave it to my lawyer." She stared at me for a long time. Then whispered, "I knew you would." I waited. For yelling. For tears. For her to try and explain. But instead, she walked over to her bag, pulled something out, and placed it on the table. A small black box. She slid it toward me. "Open it." I hesitated, then flipped the lid. Inside was a USB stick. Plain. No label. "What is this?" I asked. Her voice cracked. "Insurance." "For who?" "For me. For you. For both of us." I narrowed my eyes. "What's on it?" She looked down. Video footage. From Palm Desert. The night everything went wrong. I felt the blood leave my face. "Why do you have it?" "Because I knew I'd be the only one blamed. Because I knew one day someone might come looking. And because I needed to remind myself I wasn't the monster." I didn't understand. Was she the villain? Or was there someone else? Was this all her fault? Or just half of it? I picked up the drive with trembling hands. She said one last thing before walking out of the room. "Be careful what you watch. Once you see it, you don't get to pretend anymore." I waited 3 days before I watched the video. 3 days of that little black USB stick sitting on my nightstand like a live grenade. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't think. Every time I reached for it, something inside me stopped my hand. Fear, maybe. Maybe cowardice. Maybe I didn't want to know the truth, not because I couldn't handle it, but because I was scared it might still not make her innocent. But on the third night, at exactly 2:42 a.m., I plugged it into my laptop. No folder. No password. Just one file. _08-14_ Palm Suite footage. MP4-inch. I clicked play. It was a silent, grainy hotel surveillance feed. I recognized Mara immediately, standing outside a suite door, arms crossed, tense. She looked nervous, Nothing like the polished, composed version of her that usually waltzed through airports and real estate conferences. A man approached. Early 30s, tan suit, some badge clipped to his belt. He smiled. She didn't. He leaned in. She leaned back. Then he opened the door. They went inside. The timestamp ran for 37 minutes before they exited. This time, Mara came out first, angry, flustered, pulling her jacket tight around herself like she'd been exposed. The man followed, smiling again. She said something. He laughed. Then he touched her arm. She slapped it away. The hallway camera caught it. All of it. No audio, but the story was clear. He tried something. She refused. He didn't stop. And when she walked away, shaking, he turned and winked at the camera. I stopped the video. My hands were ice. I sat there in the dark, listening to the silence of our home. The silence I had spent weeks filling with my own self-pity and assumptions. And now I knew. Mara hadn't lied about the cheating, because there hadn't been any. Not then. She didn't want to bury her mistakes. She wanted to bury her shame. She signed that non-disclosure to protect herself from a firm that didn't want bad PR. They packaged it as mutual resolution, made her sign away her voice. And when she came home, I hadn't noticed the change in her. The way she pulled away. The way she stopped laughing in the kitchen. I thought she was bored. I thought she was cruel. But she was hurt. And I missed it. I left the video on my lawyer's desk the next morning. Linda watched it without a word, then looked at me like she'd just seen a ghost. You still want to go public? She asked softly. I shook my head. No. I just want to walk away knowing I wasn't crazy, that I didn't imagine all of it. She nodded. You didn't. But Ellis, she didn't either. I dropped the divorce case. Mara didn't. But this time, we signed a new version. One where we both walked away clean. No gag orders. No shadows. Just truth. We split the furniture. She kept the espresso machine. I kept the couch. We hugged once in the doorway, too long for strangers, but not long enough for the grief we carried. And then she left. But she didn't slam the door. 6 months later, I got a postcard. Sedona, Arizona. Mountains. Freedom. Peace. I'm healing. I hope you are too. M. I hung it on the fridge. Sometimes, I still scroll through the texts we never sent. The photos we never deleted. Not because I miss her, but because I remember us before the silence. Before the secrets. Before everything became a battle to win. Mara didn't destroy me. And I didn't destroy her. In the end, we let go of what wasn't working and walked out with something better. The truth. And the truth, for once, was enough.